Good evening. My name is Barnabas Chukwemeka Angomno. My research topic is protecting Docker hosts from Docker containers, a strategy against privilege escalation attacks. This is in fulfillment for the continuous assessment 2 for research in computing model. Problem context and motivation. There is a widespread adoption of container technology, such as Docker containers. However, security has been a top concern for moving to containers. And privilege escalation attack is a major container security threat. Hence, a compromised Docker container can put the host machine and other neighboring containers at risk. This can also cause loss of revenues to enterprises who would love to move to containers. Research questions and proposed solution. This research aims to answer the following questions. Number 1, what strategies can be used to protect Docker containers from privilege escalation attacks? 2, to what degree can Docker hosts be protected from Docker containers? And finally, what effects does these strategies have on the security of Docker hosts? Our experimental hypothesis says that a combination of Docker security approach would help to prevent privilege escalation on Docker containers host computer. For this reason, we are proposing a solution that combines 3 Docker security best practices to form a threat mitigation strategy. These are the practices. First, run Docker in a rootlet mode. 3, adopt safe image practices. And 3, we encourage that if privilege flag should be used in Docker, it should be used with caution. If not, avoid using privilege flag. Literature review. This research reviewed containerization and virtualization. It differentiated the difference between containerization and hardware virtualization, and also provided a clear understanding of the security of Docker containers and host machines. Limitations. It did not dive deep into the security of Docker and the host kernel exploitation. Another review that was done on the literature also described Docker security and their vulnerabilities. Pros. It provided a clear understanding of Docker security architecture and potential privilege escalation attacks that can be targeted on the host machine. Cons. Container security is a constantly evolving challenge with dynamic threats. This implies that each day that passes, new threats come up and more secure approaches are in high demand. This research objective is to develop a protection strategy that can prevent privilege escalation in a Docker containerized environment. It will achieve this by running rootless Docker container, adopting safe image practices, and avoiding the use of the privilege flag. Privilege flag should only be used with caution if it is a mandatory option. Research method and specification. In the research method, we aim to ascertain if a user can gain root access to the host machine after applying all the security approaches. Then an evaluation will be done based on the experiments conducted and the outcome. Again, OWASP Container Security Verification Standard and the Security Configuration Benchmark for Docker 1.6 will serve as a guide to ensure that best security practices are used. Research resources required in this research include a Linux computer, then Docker images, which will be obtained from the Docker Hub repository. Image scanners will also be used to scan the images as a secure practice. Then the kernel, an attempt will be made to exploit the kernel, the host kernel, and penetration skills that were acquired in the first semester in the network security and penetration testing module will be applied in this research to attempt to gain access to the host machine. Ethics. The contributors of literature reviews in this research are duly acknowledged. This research will maintain a high level of objectivity in the discussion and the analysis that will be carried. It will also comply with the Docker subscription service. Hence, this Docker will be used for educational purpose only. This research will comply with the Patents Act, especially Section 11 and 12 of the Act 1992. The researcher will also keep a good record of this research and the outcome of the experiments conducted. Here is a diagrammatic representation of how this research will be conducted. When the three approaches have been combined together, an attempt will be made to gain access to the root folder, to the root of the host machine. If this is not possible, then we have achieved our aim of protecting the host machine from a vulnerable Docker container. Experimental evaluation. To protect a Docker host computer from a Docker container through application of security strategies against privilege escalation. A metric that we'll use here is to make sure that the strategy protects the host from the exploits that will be tried. 2, demonstrate the degree of which this strategy can protect the host machine. The metric we will use to measure this is that the strategy will also prevent exploitation of the other containers that are hosted in the same computer. Again, the strategy must comply with the best security standards. 3, to know if this strategy affects the operation of the host machine. The metric to measure this is that the host machine performance should not be affected negatively, or the performance must still maintain the same speed. Work plan. This is a Gantt chart for the thesis writing, which explains the time allotted for each of the activities that will be done throughout this research. Thank you.